I saw like a big gap around personal finance knowledge. A lot of us have such a different level of knowledge of like how we should be investing and or what we should be doing with our money.
I would say post-graduation has been a cycle of trying to find hobbies, trying to figure out what interests me within work. So exciting time and also confusing time in our lives.
I felt so that I was getting a lot of negative views of the world, and that was kind of almost putting me more in like a pessimistic view.
Welcome back to Freedom to Learn podcast. My name is Gurumurthy Yeleswarapu, founder and CEO of Siliconvalley4u. And this podcast is meant for youth to empower them, to make them understand what really matters in the world. There is a long cycle of education. And there is, once you get off the education, what really matters can be challenging for certain individuals. So this podcast is to address that and also to make them understand the priorities. So with that, we have very, very, very exciting young future generation folks. And, they say girls in tech. So look at this, all are girls here. The lack of girls in tech, that's not the case, at least in this episode of the podcast. So we have Nikitha, Divya, and Kavya. So the cool thing is that they're all just fresh out of colleges and trying to conquer the world. For me, it's very special because they are daughters of my classmates. So don't guess my age now. So without any further ado, I'm going to start with Nikita. Why don't you introduce yourself? What's your major and what you're up to, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah, sure. So, hi everyone, I'm Nikitha, and I recently graduated from NYU. I majored in computer science and I minored in math and cybersecurity. So, in college, I kind of navigated a few internships in software engineering, and throughout that, kind of finding the niche of what I was enjoying. And later, post-grad, I found an opportunity as a software engineer for Microsoft. And kind of with some of the coursework I did in security, ended up in the security division at Microsoft and working for the privacy management team for the past couple of months. And that so far kind of navigating the team and onboarding to the team, and it's been good learning. So excited about that.
Fantastic. So Divya.
I'm next. Hi everyone, I'm Divya. So fun fact, Nikita and I are actually twins, but living quite different lives right now. So first of all, thanks for having us today. And a little bit about myself, I graduated from Indiana University, so I was studying business there. And then after graduating college, which was this past May, realized I wanted to move a little bit closer to home. So I was looking for jobs in the Philadelphia or New York area. And so I'm currently working in Philadelphia. I'm commuting from home from New Jersey, and I'm working at PwC right now. So it's been a learning experience. Work has definitely been an adjustment in general. But yeah, I would say post-graduation has been a cycle of trying to find hobbies so that I feel like I actually have a life outside of work, and also trying to figure out what interests me within work. So exciting time and also confusing time in our lives.
Fantastic. Yep.
Awesome. Hi, everyone. I'm Kavya. Thank you, Uncle, for having us on the podcast today. I am not fresh out of college. I graduated this is my 5th year out of college, but I work at healthcare startups as a product manager. So I studied computer science in college, but kind of shifted to the product side through some internships and then started working at startups after graduating.
Fantastic. So just so you know, for me at least,
I'm still young and out of college.
So look at me. I'm not fresh out of college. So
Fair enough.
So now let me ask you guys, right? For being born to first generation immigrants of India in this case. So how did it feel navigating through your education in general and also special colleges? Is that any different than anyone else, or just same, or did you find it anything that you learned, or you found it to be very strange or odd?
Yeah.
Anyone can start.
Yeah, I can start. I think I specifically talking about education, I didn't really feel like having first generation parents were like too much of a differentiating factor for me, just because we grew up in a very Indian community. So all our friends, all of our surroundings were also going through the same thing. So it didn't really feel like we were living like any vastly different experience than, just a typical American kid. But yeah, I would definitely say, I mean, getting to college and experiencing more diversity and just friends from of different backgrounds, I definitely felt more of a push, I would say, like a higher emphasis on education, which is a good thing, I feel like. But yeah, in general, I know Indian parents have a stereotype of pushing their kids too hard or into things that they don't want to study, but very grateful to have forward and open-minded parents. When I said I wanted to study acting, they were supportive of that too. I didn't end up studying it, but I did have their support at one point. So yeah, it's definitely nice having parents that want the best for you, but also want you to be happy and live out your dreams.
Open-minded. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. All right. So I think Nikita, I don't know if you can, for most part, more or less same. Go ahead.
Yeah, sure. I'll add a little bit onto what Div said, but for me, I think similar, Amma and Nana have been pretty open in kind of guiding us into how to work hard, but also finding what interests us. So, although that ended up aligning to the field that my dad is in, I think that was kind of by coincidence in enjoying the same field. But I think the first time that I started having interest in computer science was around sixth grade, looking up like Codecademy, some like web dev courses. And I think definitely seeing my dad at work and understanding, kind of just talking to him about even different business pursuits from like a young age. In middle school, I was thinking about a smart backpack idea, and we were even in sixth grade looking at how do we make that happen. So just being able to look at so many different ventures and streams and also converse with my parents has definitely shaped my interests as well. But in terms of keeping that open-minded, I think even today I continue to reevaluate that what I'm doing truly interests me. And if there is room to shift or find something more, in the current moment, I definitely see that.
Yeah, great. What is smart backpack anyways? Yeah, so it it knows whether the backpack is loaded or not, or how is that?
Yeah, I guess there's many different features that we were looking, but one of
Does
them
it have
is
Bluetooth? It can talk to your phone and say, "Hey, you left a black backpack at home."
exactly, yeah, something
Okay.
like that.
I
That
need one, by the way. I forget my stuff all over. My glasses. I forget anything and everything. I lost 6, 7 bottles, water bottles in 2025. So only we're still in January, right?
Yeah.
So Kavya.
Yeah. I think very similar to Nikita's experience. Like I didn't initially think I'd end up studying computer science or end up in tech like my dad, but here I am. And I think that was also sort of by coincidence of trying out different classes and different opportunities. I think one thing my parents also did really well was introduce me to all sorts of different activities and subjects kind of throughout my life. I remember very vividly applying to college as an undecided major. And I think that might have shocked them a little bit, but at the same time, it allowed me to take like intro to everything basically in my first semester of college. And I surprisingly ended up really enjoying computer science. So that's what brought me to kind of the path I'm on. I think also when I was on the computer science path, I think there, at least when I was in school, there was sort of a narrative of, you kind of work your way up to the biggest tech company possible, right? The dream for many people was to end up at like one of the big five companies, if you will. But I think one thing that I sort of did a little bit maybe differently was I got introduced to the whole world of like startups and that there's companies that are not large tech organizations that exist. And so I remember like having a conversation with my parents about like, why don't you start off at a big tech company for a couple of years and then maybe go to a startup instead of kind of immediately joining like a two-person company right out of college. And I think that was kind of one of the distinctions of like, my parents being first generation and wanting me to take a little bit more of like a safe path versus I distinctively remember kind of having this conversation of like, you took risks to come here and like kind of get us to where we are today. Like I have to do a similar risk for my generation to take us to the next level and or get myself to the next level. So it's interesting how like we in many ways are living similar lives. I think the scale is obviously very different. I think my parents, crossing an ocean of like 6,000 miles away and is very different from me being like a first generation American, but obviously have way more privileges and opportunities than they did. But it's interesting how that's like influenced my own thinking as I think about my career.
Fantastic. So basically, I don't know. Once in a while I wonder this computer science may not be a degree in few years because it's kind of becoming way of life. Everybody has to use it. It's like English, right? I mean, I know there is a degree for English. I guess even in America, I'm assuming somewhere. Um, yeah, it's the way it's going to be a lot more interesting. Anyway, let's not talk about that, as you said. So I have a question for all of you. So I feel that this is the main purpose of my podcast because I went to college with both your dads. Um, I had no clue why I was going. I was in the college. You know why I did computer science? Because I got computer science. There is no such thing. I never heard I like this. There is no such thing. You do it. Otherwise, you have no job. So I never understood when, even after I came to US, if some kid says, "Oh, I don't like this," or "I like this," how in the world you know whether what you like? So I used to wonder for a while, and later on I realized, yeah, it's a different era. Um, so there is a huge gap between actual world out there and the academics, and the world has evolved so much today. Look at now. I mean, it's going crazy. But schools didn't change, in my humble opinion, not much. I went to a bunch of schools in India when I started my company, about 30 colleges. I visited as a speaker or just to understand for my study of market study. I'll tell you one of the colleges in Hyderabad. I don't want to name them. It's a women's college. My first slide is Silicon Valley for you. Unfortunately, I casually asked, where is Silicon Valley? This is second year students, computer science. Full room of computer science students, by the way, 200 some plus. So it's not, we did computer science, we were about 20, 30 students. Um, Nobody knows where Silicon Valley is. I'm not making it up. I told them, if you're shy, I can come to your table. You can just answer me. So I'm not saying it's their fault. It's just, but they are on Instagram. And I asked them, it never popped up on your Instagram, California, Bay Area, Silicon Valley, never. And they're gonna complete in computer. They're very bright people, no doubt about it. Most probably, some of them are doing really well right now. Um, so that's the lack of exposure I'm referring to. So do you guys, can you guys talk about it if you have experienced that, or you don't see that much in America?
Is the question kind of around lack of exposure to Silicon Valley or something else?
What matters in the world, not necessarily tech. That's the example I gave, but it can be medicine, it can be business, it can be economics, finance. For instance, finance. How much folks know about finance, unless you do finance degree? I didn't know anything about finance. I can speak for myself. I knew two rules. One is put the money in the bank, don't spend. Um, that's it. And 401, I used to say, I'm not kidding. 401k, I didn't know how to pronounce. So that's my HR lady used to like me because I used to speak my mind. So anyway, I didn't know anything, right? Even today, I invest. I do. I struggle to understand even today fully. I spend a lot of time. A lot of my money is in a lot of investments. If everything collapses, I got to pack bags and leave. So I still don't know how finance works. So I'm still struggling. And I'm supposed to be literate. I'm educated person, whatever that means. I know. I read and pick it up? Yes, I can. But so much easier if I knew this when I was in schools at least the foundation so that I can build on top of it. Because I have to take care of so many other things right now, my health, my fitness. I have to spend time on a lot more important things, including my finance, which is also very important. So this is where I'm going with it. I'm sorry, I'm giving a long-winded answer for you.
No, that's
Gap,
that's really
gap
helpful. Yeah.
between what matters in the world.
Yeah, I think something that I remember thinking in college is it didn't really feel like I was learning many actually applicable skills in the classroom. Obviously, I think learning the like foundations of computer science and kind of the hard science behind all of it is super important and like critical to build that knowledge. But I think a lot of the like skills that I use on a day to day in my job, even just like navigating life as like a young adult and trying to like be an independent person. So many of those skills came from like other sources for me. Like one, I think just the like experience of trying something and doing it yourself is probably like way more educational for me than any class ever was in college, or it was the classes where I think my professors really tried to push the boundaries of learning, or like by learning by doing. Or I took a class in college which was like a class in quotes where essentially we all just like built our own businesses or startups, and that was the entire class. And I feel like that was probably the most effective credits I got out of 4 years of university versus anything else. I think similarly, I saw like a big gap around personal finance knowledge in the same way, where so much of my knowledge came from like what my parents taught me. And I remember like looking around at my classmates and thinking like a lot of us have such a different level of knowledge of like how we should be investing and or what we should be doing with our money. And there was no personal finance 101 class that everyone's required to take, even though we were going out in the world making money for the first time, and we'd all be like 22-year-olds running around with real money for the first time without a single clue of what to do with it. So in college, actually, or right after college, I started like a community around personal finance for young adults, like specifically for this problem, because I was like, people don't even, like you were saying, Uncle, like people don't even know what a 401k is, or like people don't know that when you put money in a Roth IRA, you also have to actually invest it. Otherwise, it just sits there, which is like crazy and scary. Um, so things like that, I really do feel like we have a big gap in our education system where there isn't actual like life skills that are taught. And I think that's something that I would love to see change.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, go ahead, guys. Nikita, Divya, you guys, not only finance, right? You can talk about anything, social systems, or it could be, diet, for instance, right? So you can talk about anything. Not necessarily finance is one of them. Um, I guess the things that matters as you get older, what are the priorities, right? Your health, your family, and your finances. Once you have financial freedom, whatever that means, then you have good life. So anything that comes to your mind, Divya or Nikita?
Yeah. Um, my mind is going in a lot of different directions to answer this, but I would say just like in regards to the example of personal finance, I know in high school, me and Nikki had to take a personal finance class, but so in that regard, like, yes, there was coverage over like topics that divert from the normal, like US history, math that you're required to take in high school and like further your well-being after you graduate, right? But at the same time, do I remember anything I learned in 11th grade about topics that are going to apply to my life in 5 years? No, like I couldn't tell you what was taught to me in that class. And now that I'm out of school, it's like there's no one really there to teach me unless like I go seek out help. And I think that's like the same case for a lot of topics. I feel like right now, honestly, I feel like I am at like the peak learning or like desire to actually learn, like just watching random YouTube videos that are like more educational or about like how a plane works and stuff like that that I never would have watched before. And I think part of that is like having so much on my mind where it's just work, but there's also nothing that I'm like being told to learn. I can learn whatever I want to. So in that same way, there's like so much, there's only so much that school can teach you. And a big part of that is like how much do you want to learn at the time? And I would say a lot of like teenagers, especially me, I can speak for myself. I didn't really understand the purpose of like learning everything if I didn't really know what direction I wanted to go in, right? So I would say like having that desire now has allowed me to take in a lot more information. So yeah, I guess that's like a short way of answering it. There's still a lot of gaps in the education system. I won't like go without saying that, but I think a big part of it is also like teaching at an age and in a way where you like someone actually has the will to learn what is being taught, and that's a big part of it.
Nikita, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, sure. So I think both of them said that really well, and I'll just add something you said, Gurumurthy uncle, about kind of coming back to what is important to learn, and I think that also comes down to every individual's like own value system, because as Div and Kavya kind of mentioned, there is so much, I guess, information overload on what could be relevant or what could be important, and for example, when it comes down to what media I have consumed, I guess a couple years ago, I was pretty much daily reading the news for a couple years. And I guess the source of my media quality, I don't, looking back, I think I wish I'd consumed differently because there's a lot of sometimes depending on where you're, getting your information, like skewed information, and also more like I felt so that I was getting a lot of negative views of the world, and that was kind of almost putting me more in like a pessimistic view of things. And I felt like there was not like truth in kind of, or like getting objectivity in the news I was receiving. So I think I instead resorted to like stop reading the news, but now I've slowly started picking that back up in different ways and going to more like, established sources. And I think another thing that we were talking about a couple weeks ago is, with a TikTok, Instagram, and getting like quick and short information in from so many different sources is another thing that, give you so many perspectives, but making sure that you go back to your original like personal values and looking out to like seek information to expand those values and like constantly update them is one thing that I think is important. And for example, looking into like even a simple thing like how to do a simple exercise at the gym, like there are so many ways or things that are told you could do for that certain exercise, but sticking to like consistency for that and looking at one established source is kind of what is my point. And I think that comes back to finding what is important to you and in the world. So yeah.
Yeah. See, that's precisely what, in fact, I agree with you, Nikita. I'm in the same boat. I was for a very long time. I don't watch news. You turn on the news, man, one after another accident, fire accident, some guy died, some guy shot, this, that. And I don't watch even now. I don't watch. So I watch CNBC, obviously, once in a while. I mean, not once in a while, almost every day. But I guess I mean, the point I was making earlier was like, I wish schools had a subject called life skills and then reduce, let's say, a little bit of history, a little bit of something else that you're not interested in. Like, for instance, I hated chemistry, and chemistry as in chemistry subject, not chemistry. Um, I just, I barely managed. Luckily, I got lucky. So I knew from the get-go, I never gonna use that. I knew, but I had to pass the exam. And so instead, I wish they taught me a subject called life skills where I do 20 push-ups. Like you said, for instance, so much content out there. Um, if you can Google it, you push-ups are good for you and push-ups are bad for you. You get equal number of links. So I wish this is precisely the reason I wish they gave us the foundation, basics, for instance whatever we learned math basic maths we understood now we want to learn something what is it machine learning for instance we are capable of figuring it out but let's say if I have to do advanced French, how do I do it? I have no idea. So same thing. A lot of my peers right now, They're on medications for various conditions. And all the doctors, the first thing the doctor tells you is go do something. You go run, you go hike, go do something, or do exercise, they say. Go do some exercise. A lot of them, at least many of them I know of, they just never did exercise ever in their lives. And they are not no longer smaller people in, so they gain, it is what it is. They're out of shape, let's just say. And they are just suppress the condition. They are on medication, continuously popping pills. So in my humble opinion, it's not their fault. They followed the protocol to the dot, and they were told, get the GPS, make hell out of money, you'll be very successful. That's what they've been trying. They're trying to trying to make money at the cost of health, right? I mean, 50-year-old guy. Anyway, I don't want to get into all the long story short. It gets to a point where you lose track of your priorities and go after this something that you're being told. In my language, I like to say we were all brainwashed and towards something, constantly keep going, keep going. If it comes to you easily, do it. I tell everybody, make hell out of money. Don't get me wrong. But at what cost? Is it coming to you? Yeah, take it, man. I mean, who's going to say no? But in the pursuit of getting all that money, if you end up dying, I don't know. So
Yeah,
anyway,
I think
yeah.
I was just gonna say, I think, now we're at the point where it's more common knowledge, right? To say things like, oh, like eating healthy or clean is important, like exercise is important and something that we should all do. But I think looking back at prior generations, like it was not something that everyone could afford to do. And so I think that's one of the big things is like I think that's like also the beauty of like information is power and like education is power. Um, and while I totally agree with all of the influx of information on like Instagram Reels and TikTok and whatever, one thing I think it has done is really like democratize a lot of different types of information. Like people are teaching each other how to exercise properly or eat properly or ways to make money on the internet or ways to like learn new skills or like those the personal finance education. Like I think a lot of these like different media platforms have really helped like disseminate a lot of the information. I think what we have to come back to now is like our critical thinking skills, which is what like school and our education system should have taught us of like how do we parse through all of the information that's being thrown at us to understand like what's right and what's wrong and what we should be listening to and not listening to, which I think is probably like the biggest challenge of our generation.
Yeah.
Is like, I saw two 30-second videos, like what's truth and what's, just made up for views. I think that is really the hardest part of something that like we have to navigate now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In our generation where there was no internet, right? So we were all from pre-internet. What internet? Nothing. And we for us it was a lot more important than now, because now at least you stumble upon something, you see some YouTube video, some guys pushing, whatever. Hey, maybe I should do it. No clue whatsoever. We had nothing, and especially when your metabolism is high, if you run, for instance, or you do anything, it doesn't feel like it's helping you because you feel fit. It's so, but the daily routine or discipline to be fit is only taught to only military guys in India. So the guy, if
And
you, yeah, outside of it, we were all unfit.
yeah, no, to that point, Uncle, I feel like I'm just trying to think of, we're very blessed to live in the US, obviously in this time and age. I feel like it's been the highest emphasis on fitness and health that it's ever been. And a huge part of it, like Kavya said, is due to social media. You see, it's almost like an aesthetic. Eating clean is like trendy. And like there's a like trending term on TikTok right now called the clean girl aesthetic. And part of it is like all these like just like someone who's very put together in all aspects. But like I feel like almost my equivalent of to this when we were little was learning outside of school. Like our mom would sometimes make us do logic books and everything at home. And I hated it so much. I was like, this is so, like, I just want to watch TV. I already went to school. And a big part of that is like, I knew it was going to be good for me, but as much as someone told me to do it, I wasn't surrounded by like my thought process was everyone else just gets to go home and watch TV or something. Like, why do I have to do this? What is this going to do for me? So I think more of it being a lack of education and like fitness not being taught to you. I'm sure if someone did tell you back then do 20 push-ups, you would also maybe like disregard it a little bit. I think more of it has to do with media and there not being enough like publicity about like the importance of health and like information surrounding that. So I think a lot of like the way we're thinking now is just like representation, honestly. Like if you don't see it and you don't see like the results and someone else living this like really nice lifestyle of health, then it's very hard to like start on your own and desire that want.
Yeah, so I agree with you, but at the same time, what I was saying is that they should have mandated it. Just
Yeah.
like, see, if I don't get 40 marks, I fail math.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't do whatever that routine, 20 push, whatever that is, if I don't do that, I fail that year.
Mm-hmm.
Just like, because, I learned math now, I learned whatever I learned, few things, and I learned a lot of stuff that I never use in my life. That's that. But I also didn't learn all these things. I wish they mandated this to the point where everybody must do it. I'm not saying that they have to be world class
I think
athletes.
I think we like I mean we grew up with like physical education, right? Like PE as like one of our classes. But I don't necessarily think that is the solution either because I can't ever say that PE made me inspired to like pursue different sports or activities, right? So I almost feel like it was the exposure to sports and activities outside of school, which came from my parents. And again, something that like again, not everyone can afford to do that really inspired me to do like play soccer and basketball
Yeah,
and tennis, which are all now skills that I have for the rest of my life. And I think the like education reform or changes that we need are not necessarily just the content, but also the way that we teach these things. Because I think asking someone to do 20 push-ups or whatever is like what we were told to do in PE. And I don't think that's the way you teach someone to care about their health. I think it's like teaching someone the science behind it or being able to
correct.
show someone that, there's an activity for everybody. Or like, if you don't like tennis, maybe you like basketball. If you don't like basketball, maybe you like running. If you don't like running, maybe you like something totally different.
Absolutely.
Maybe you like
Yeah.
lifting. Like, I think one of the big things that I wish I was taught in school was like lifting weights, but I had to kind of teach myself and brave the weight room full of men like in college and like watch videos on my phone and kind of learn all of those things by myself. And so I think I agree with you, but I think it's more about like the way that
Yeah.
we teach the skill
Yeah.
in a way that inspires people to then pursue the things that they connect with and then kind of take that like ability to learn and pick up new things for the rest of their
I
life.
agree. I 100% agree. I meant to say when I say 20 push-ups, it's a
Yeah.
casual statement
Yeah, totally.
saying, you were not told anything. So bottom line is you are absolutely right. There is a cardio, there is whatever we are trying to do right now, right? You build your stamina versus, you increase your heart rate, blah, blah. So in order to do that, some like to run, some like to play sports, some like to do something else, whatever it is. Those are all implementation, right? So you condition your body and you condition your mind. How you do it, it's up to you. Somebody will like to dance and condition their mind. Somebody do meditation, whatever it is, right? So um, I think that I agree with you that that is where I'm going with all this. It's not necessarily do push-ups. It's not that. That's usually used to be a punishment for us, by the way, in schools. So if we do something crazy, they not only, in our case, they also beat us, but that's different. Um, but we used to do, what is it? Squats. That's the nice way to say it. So anyway, I don't want to reminisce those days. It's very, very hard. Um, but I don't think you have to be wealthy or fluent family to do all these things. In fact, to be honest, when I grew up in my village, I played every sport out there. I was outdoors, not much in college though, a little bit here and there. But now I play a lot. But back then, I used to play every sport, but none of the sports are well recognized in the world. That's the problem. Nobody knows those sports. All garbage. And around, what is it? Dodgeball, for instance. We used to run around a lot. I used to play every day. I used to come home sweating. My mom used to say, "Why are you sweating like this? It's not good for your health." So, uh, day before yesterday, I was telling my mom, I'm running on Friday in San Francisco. I was telling my mom, first time I told that I run 13 miles and I'm going to run from Gudur College to home, my village. My mom started crying. I told her, this is exercise. I have a car. I can drive. I don't have to run. I can afford to drive. But she felt very emotional that I used to bike back then. Now I'm running. I'm going backwards, I guess. But she felt very, and I told her I'll call you back again. And so, um, yeah. Anyway, so let's move on from that. I guess the emphasis is that now that you guys are past that academics, so how do you guys foresee yourself? Do you guys have an idea where you will be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years?
Yeah, that's a hard one. I have no idea. I hardly know what I want like the next year to look like, so that's hard.
Oh, hey. So I've been there, done that. Don't worry. Absolutely no clue. I didn't
But
know what I do tomorrow, let alone,
I
yeah.
know.
So, yeah.
I
Yeah,
know.
I've been there. That's why I'm asking this question. So,
Yeah, no. So I think I don't necessarily have like a long-term plan right now. Um, But I will say, I don't even know if this relates, but I saw something, and I think that to your point of like, do you want to be traveling, like save up to travel, whatever. But someone who said the ideal goal is to make your, like a lot of, let me give you some context here. So a lot of people will be like, looking, or at least even this is what I'm doing now, like looking forward to the weekend, or oh, I know I have this event coming up. I just need to make it through these next 2 weeks and go to that event. But how many occasions are there in a year for you to really look forward to? Maybe 20, 30. And so are you really just like, this is an interesting point you raised, but are you really just living to experience those 20, 30 events? Like the ideal lifestyle you should create is making your average Tuesday so that it's something to look forward to. So I think that's something I like really resonated with, and something I want to improve on myself. So a lot of self-discovery about hobbies, maybe even like reevaluating what it is I want to be leaving the end of a work day feeling. But also like my personal day, like what actually satisfies me and makes me feel happy. So yeah, I'm focusing on the short term to fulfill that, whatever I saw that quote
yeah,
said.
I tell you, yeah,
Yeah,
as long as you get up and smile, you're doing well. It's very
okay,
simple.
I like that. That's good.
Yeah. So next, whoever.
Yeah, I think very similarly. I feel like especially because I graduated during the pandemic, like I think I immediately threw out the concept of like a 5-year plan for myself. I just like don't think those are realistic. So at most, like I think about maybe the year ahead. I really don't think further than that. But yeah, I think similarly, I tend to be like a maximizer of the time that I have, and I do believe in saving for for retirement, but
Rainy day.
I think one thing that we forget is like we think of like, oh, when I retire, I'm going to do all these things, but like why not just do it now? Like what's the point of working so hard if I'm not going to be able to enjoy my money now? Like tomorrow isn't guaranteed. And I really do believe that. And so I think something that I've been trying to work towards is like just being more present, like maximizing the moments that I am in, and also like trying to build the best possible life with like what I have. I think I have like various goals and like things that I want to achieve, but it's less so like on a strict timeline, but trying to make like incremental progress towards those things and just trying to be like a little bit better today than I was yesterday is really what I feel like the focus for me has been in the past year.
Fantastic. Yeah. I mean, I'll tell you at the end after Nikita's. I have few thoughts, not ideas. Yeah.
Yeah, I think those are great points. And for me, I think until this point, we've had a good amount of structure in, I guess, life
That's a
paths, like
good point. Yes.
going to middle school, high school,
There
college,
is
then
index, there is
job,
the table, there is a book,
Exactly,
there is
exactly.
semester. Yeah.
Exactly. So now moving all the way to Seattle and having a job, and then you have a couple hours after that job. So far I'm still kind of navigating what kind of fills up those hours, what new things I can try looking into. I think for the past few years have been like exploring the same hobbies, getting a little bored of it, and wanted to try like a few different things. So still trying to like Div said, make the average Tuesday, glorious. But I think another thing is that I kind of like to do is kind of follow what comes naturally, but also do it intentionally. So that's something that like in work that I follow, and I guess outside of work also trying to find different things that still feel fun.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's kind of the plan for right now.
Yeah, so fantastic. One great point you made is the difference between, academics and the real world is academics is super structured, right? You have get go, you have all these books, you have to read all this, and if you go down this path, this is what happens. If you don't go, you go to this college versus that college, this, that, there is a lot of structure. And then you get out. I can speak for myself. I joined this company. He goes and says, "Oh, these guys, you go and work with them." Work with what? So I didn't know. What do you mean? What do you do? I sit there, I was staring at them. They don't talk to you very well because they think you don't understand anything. And so eventually, by the time I get to do something, it was about 2 to 3 months. They gave me some work. I was doing it, but I didn't know what I was doing. And I didn't know how this relates to anything about that company. And then anytime I ask a question, it just never worked out. So anyway, that's how that company was, right? Every situation is super unique. Long story short, there's a lot of unstructuredness, but some folks are really good at it. They excel in those situations. They need chaos. It's like a war. So I remember one guy, he was in the veteran in the war, and he launched a startup. He did very well. So he was a speaker. And so he was asked, his boss was, he worked for Ford, and boss was yelling at him, profanity every day. And then this guy, so he's like as if nothing happened. He just goes to work, let him yell, and then he go home. He goes home. Next last of the day he resigned. Somebody asked, how did you put up with this guy for a year? And he goes, dude, I was in the war. I didn't know if I was gonna make it home every day. I go out, I don't know if I get killed. I'm coming to office. This guy is yelling. I don't even care why he's yelling. I'm alive. So I don't. All I need is I am getting my paycheck. Let him do whatever he wants. I'm gonna get out. So point is that when you come from in certain backgrounds, you are sort of trained to excel in chaotic situations. So um, I come from similar background. I was never in the war, but it's always chaos. Where I come from, there is never structure of anything whatsoever, and it just. I remember going to college. They said no classes today because it's raining. Because there is a shed, the water comes into the classroom. And then one day you're at home. I have to bike about 13, 14 miles. If it rains, okay, I'm not going to go to college today, and it doesn't rain there. So classes run. It's a battle. It's a struggle for existence. That's what they say in India. You constantly struggle because 1.4 million, but back then I forget, whatever, large number. So you're one in billion and you still have to figure it out, and especially if you don't have plan B. And there is no such thing as plan B. Plan A, go to college, get the job. Plan A, that's it. Plan B, there's no plan B. So, meaning there are no private jobs like McDonald's, you go and work for Starbucks, and none of those were there. And there is nothing to survive, and you just hang in there until you get a job. And if you don't get a job, you just keep trying. That's plan A. And there are a lot of gaps when I travel. For instance, Kumbh Mela going on right now. Not many people have any clue. If I land there, God knows what happens. So I think we are coming to the end of our podcast. I wanted to ask you guys one question that is more on the fun side. Is there any technology that or piece of tech that you wish you had that makes your life even more exciting, day-to-day life? Or I'll give you my mind. If I can go to India in 2 hours, why in the world these airlines didn't change? 30 years, same 18 hours, same headache, immigration lines, yada, nothing changed. I wish I can just get on the flight and by it's what is it, 7 o'clock, maybe by 10 o'clock I'm in Hyderabad.
Yeah, that's a good answer.
It's a really good answer.
So so you anything that comes to your mind, anything that's fun.
Hmm. I feel like this is such a hard one to
Put you guys
answer.
on spot.
I know. Give me a few moments.
It can be, if you guys are into Star Wars, Stargates, and all this stuff, all fantasy stuff, which I'm not into. Anything,
I
any
think I
app.
think my I think mine is very similar, like around just like transportation. Like I think
Yeah.
just, like even high-speed rail in the United States doesn't exist. We don't even have San Francisco to LA. Um,
Oh, that's not going to happen, by the way. You know that why,
yeah,
right?
it's never gonna
There's commercial
happen.
reasons. There's
Um,
nothing to do with, sophistication. We can do it.
yeah,
It's not going to
exactly.
happen.
But yeah, honestly, just around transportation, it's probably the biggest time suck for so
Yeah.
many people. But I think we're getting there, right? We have Waymo now, and we'll see where it goes. But yeah,
Yeah,
I think
sure.
honestly, my answer would be what you said, Uncle. So I'll steal your answer.
All right. So,
Fair.
hey, you get all three can steal. It's okay. So, but maybe you guys can think of a better one. I mean, there are quite a few.
I
I
got,
would
oh, go ahead, Div.
No, it's not really tech related, but when you're mentioning getting places faster, I feel like the thing holding me back from, just booking a ticket to London next week, which I always think about doing, is the cost of it. I wish things like experience related, there's a way to make it cheaper. I know I've seen like a few videos about some people who bought a lifetime pass. They don't offer anymore. I wish they did, but it was like someone bought it 20, 30 years ago for $200,000 and he's made his money's worth. I think like he spent over $1 million on flight tickets. I wish there was something like that. Not saying I
Yeah.
would ever, like even still think about just dropping that money in the moment, but experience related things I have a hard time um just spending money in general. So I wish some of that could be cheaper.
Yeah. No, but have you guys ever thought about, seeing different places in the world and you guys think about it?
Oh
I
yeah.
mean,
I
I'm pretty
think
sure you guys
that's my
do
biggest
because this
motivation to
whole
make
Instagram
money
is crazy, driving
is
everybody crazy,
traveling.
right?
Yeah, I know.
No, I think that's a good point too. In fact, the travel whole thing, right? It's nothing to do with the distance, it's the demand. So
Yeah.
for instance, I don't know if you know that the guy was arrested. If you travel from San Francisco to New York via Denver, the ticket from San Francisco to Denver is costlier than San Francisco to New York via Denver. Does that make sense? It doesn't, but that's how it was. He still is, I think. So, you know what the one guy did? He had access to the API or something. So what he did is, even if you get off in the Denver, you buy a ticket to New York. So because then it becomes cheaper. You say you're going to New York, you get off in Denver. Who cares? So the whole flight used to get off. It's like, so why everybody's leaving, man? Where are the New York guys? So they
I
all
think
got off
now
because
the airlines can like blacklist you for doing
correct.
that.
So airlines found that guy and he was arrested or something. It's illegal apparently. So
Yeah.
that's why this whole airlines business is extremely weird. And there is no value. It can be $1. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm not making it up. A cost of travel can be anywhere from dollar to 100 million. I mean, $100,000. Not 100, even that is too much. Let's say $5,000, $10,000, easily.
Mm.
When there is no demand, they'll just give it away free because they want people to come on the aeroplane, just go somewhere, so that at least it's empty. So why you get upgrades just like that on last time. Oh, when I came to wedding, I got on the way back, I was in first class. Why did I get? I have no clue. I don't know. They at the gate, not at the when you enter the airplane. I gave my thing. Mine was I think what is that premium economy. They said you are in first class. My seat number was 8. Only, I mean, I'm not kidding. I sat there. I was wondering, another guy is going to come with 8 or what? No. So then we have a situation here because mine is he wrote with the pen. It's 8. It's not the printed one. So what if the other guy comes? That's mine. I mean, then we have a situation. So I was tentatively sitting there, but it was mine.
Nice.
The flight was full. Flight was not like empty. Why did they pick me? I still don't know. So anyway, um, I they travel and around travel. There is a huge economy, massive amount of economy, and it's going to stay. So Europe, for instance, right? A lot of European countries they survive big time. It's purely on tourism. There are certain countries in Paris. In certain countries, majority of their economy is tourism. So India doesn't do well. India can be one of them, but we don't know how to do it. But that's where we need a lot more sophistication than what we have today. I agree with you 100%. Let alone flying, man. This freeways are killing. Like I have to commute once in a while. I have to go to other places. Um, Man, I have to pick. I go there, I stay there, I keep looking Google Maps, keep looking. Oh, okay, now green. Get out, get in the car and get there. So if otherwise, I'll be on freeway for 40 minutes. So might as well. I just go to the nearest gym. Luckily, I have partnership with a lot of gyms around here. So I pick the nearest. I go there and sit there, and I play pickleball or something. And the moment I see, okay, so it's all good now. So I end up coming home around 8, 9 in the evening. So on that note, so hey, thanks a lot. Thanks for all your insights. I really like to speak to guys, people like you, because we all can learn from you guys than other way around. People think we all, wise. It's not. It's actually opposite. We have gray hair for namesake. So we'll do one more, hopefully in the next few months. I know you guys have busy schedules, so it's very difficult to get hold of you guys. If we do, then we'll do one more, maybe a little bit more focused on a particular topic than broad topic like the way we did today. And this one is just to get to know you guys, and hopefully the guys whoever is watching learn from you guys and be one of you and in their futures. There are a lot of kids out there want to be in your situation. Take my word for it, no doubt about it. And this is their dream to be America and being in the spots you guys are in as we speak, and you're doing all three are doing really well. And so keep doing what you're doing, and we'll meet again.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thanks, Uncle.
Thanks so much,
Appreciate it.
Uncle.
Very
Keep
fun
doing
to
what you're
engage.
doing.
Alrighty. Thank you very much.